Hi students, how are you? I hope each one among you are doing great and well. Welcome to Supnit's classes. This is Rahmat Latif, your biology educator. In this video, we are going to learn about breathing and exchange of gases. So without wasting any time, let's get started. In our previous session, we just see that human respiratory system starts right from nostrils, opens up into nasal chamber through nasal passage, then opens up into pharynx, which is common passage for esophagus and trachea, opens up into what we call it as, and then it opens up into larynx. Okay, larynx is sound box because that helps in production of sound. Larynx, we call it as sound box as well, and this larynx in birds is known as syrinx in birds. Okay, I hope this concept is clear, right? Now the part starts. Okay, then we have larynx, which opens up into trachea. Trachea is a long tube which divides on the mid thoracic cavity into right and left primary bronchi. Bronchi divides into secondary bronchi, tertiary bronchi, bronchioles. Then bronchioles opens up into thin walled, what we call it as, uh, alveoli. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. The part starting with external nostrils up to bronchioles, part starting from nostrils up to bronchioles, nose to bronchioles, it constitutes conducting part. It's known as conducting part, and alveoli is known as exchanging part, where exchange of gases took place. Okay, nose to nostrils to bronchioles is known as conducting part. Alveoli is known as exchanging part because at this part exchange took place. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. Now, what do we mean by conducting part? Conducting part simply means that part which transports the atmospheric air, to the alveoli. Moreover, it clears this air from foreign particles, humidifies, and also brings the air to body temperature, because we know that our body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. Sometimes our atmospheric temperature is very low. We need to bring that temperature to our body temperature. That's why that's the main part, which is that's the main thing which is done in our conducting part. Conducting part transports the atmospheric air to the alveoli, clears it from foreign particles, because we know that atmospheric air is surrounded by so many dust and all, and it also brings air to the body temperature. Exchange part is the site of actual diffusion. Exchange part is the site of actual diffusion. Exchange part is the alveoli, and that is the part where actual diffusion occur, where oxygen and CO2, diffusion of oxygen and CO2 occurs between blood and atmospheric air. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. Okay, let me erase it. See, conducting part, what conducting part does. First of all, we will write what is conducting part. Conducting part is from nostrils to bronchioles. What they do? First of all, what conducting part do? It transports atmos transports gases to alveoli and back from alveoli to outside the body. Okay, it clears foreign particles from it. Moreover, it brings air to body temperature. That means it maintains the body temperature. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. Now, lungs. Where are lungs situated? Location of lungs. Lungs are situated in thoracic chamber. Lungs are situated in thoracic chamber, which is actually an airtight chamber. Lungs are situated in thoracic chamber, which is actually an airtight chamber. Thoracic chamber, see, dorsally means from backside. Thoracic chamber, lungs is formed, thoracic chamber is formed dorsally by vertebral column, ventrally by sternum. Sternum is this bone, chest bone, okay? Laterally means sidewise by ribs, and on the lower side by diaphragm, okay? I hope this concept is clear. Lungs are situated in thoracic chamber, which is actually an anatomically tight chamber, airtight chamber. Thoracic chamber is formed dorsally on back side by vertebral column, on front side ventrally by sternum, on laterally by ribs, and on lower side by diaphragm. Okay. Now lungs in thorax. Okay, lungs in thorax are situated like this, that the volume of thoracic cavity will be reflected in the lung. Such an arrangement is necessary because when there is change in volume, when there is change in pressure inside lungs outside the atmospheric air, only then air can be drawn in, air can be drawn out. Okay, oxygen can be drawn in, carbon dioxide can be drawn out. I hope this concept is clear. Now, respiration involves the following basic steps. First of all, what we do in breathing, we just, what do? We do inhalation like this. Atmospheric air is drawn in. Breathing or pulmonary, as I already mentioned, lungs means pulmonary respiration. Breathing or pulmonary ventilation means atmospheric air is drawn in like this. That means atmospheric air is drawn in and CO2 rich alveolar air is released out. How? ऐसे. Okay, breathing, inhalation, exhalation. Okay, now what will happen? Diffusion of gases and oxygen. Now air is constituted by conducting part up to the alveoli, and on alveoli what happens? Diffusion of gases, that means oxygen and CO2 took place. Then this oxygen, this gas is transported by blood. Why by blood? Because it needs to be oxygen needs to be diffused between blood and tissues, and then after tissues it needs to be consumed by cells for catabolic reaction. As I already mentioned in our first session of this very chapter, that oxygen is being utilized during that catabolic reaction in order to break down the simple molecules like glucose, amino acid, fatty acid into into simpler forms, so that we can derive energy from that. Okay, utilize oxygen is being utilized by cells, and the resultant, which leads to the release of CO2, which is being considered as harmful product. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. Now see mechanism of breathing. What is breathing? Breathing involves two stages mainly. First one is inspiration, another one is expiration, or inhalation, exhalation. Okay, during this stage oxygen is drawn in. On expiration, carbon dioxide is being drawn out. Okay, how can we see? Simple. How can we draw the air inside our lungs, and how we can excrete out the, or we can say we can exhale the what we call it as exhale the oxygen out of the body? See, how is it possible? First of all, inspiration can occur only if the pressure within the lungs is less than the atmospheric pressure. Okay, are you getting my point? As in, previous slide I said that it's an arrangement of thoracic chamber, that there is slight change in pressure, slight change in volume, only then atmospheric air can be drawn in and alveolar air can be drawn out. Inspiration can only occur if the pressure within the lungs. Inspiration can only occur if the pressure in between the lungs, within the lungs, is less than the atmospheric pressure. See, inspiration can occur if pressure within lungs is lesser than atmospheric air. And you know that pressure is inversely proportional to volume. That means if pressure inside the lungs is lesser, volume is greater than that. Okay, that means there is negative pressure in the lungs with respect to atmospheric pressure. That's why. And what happens during expiration? During expiration, its inverse happens. What happens? Pressure within lungs is greater than atmospheric air. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. Now see what will happen actually. You know what happens? See, our external, we have so many sources involved during respiration. What happens basically? We have on lower side, I'm again saying that thoracic chamber is dorsally supported by vertebral column, ventrally by sternum, laterally by ribs, and on lower side by thoracic chamber. Diaphragm and a specialized diaphragm which is situated on the lower side, and set of muscles, external and intercostal muscles, which are actually located between the ribs. External and internal intercostal muscles are located between the ribs. It helps in such gradients so that atmospheric air can be drawn in and alveolar air can be released out. How is it possible? See, inspiration is initiated by the contraction of diaphragm. During watching this lecture, please do the practical, do this practically. Okay, do inspiration. What happens during inspiration? Diaphragm gets slightly upwards like this. It gets upwards, diaphragm gets upwards. Okay, which eventually increases the volume. I was in normal position, my volume is normal but pressure is decreased. That's why pressure inside lungs is lesser than the atmospheric pressure. That's why I will do inhalation. Now for inhalation I have to do for like this. Diaphragm will get slightly upwards. What will happen? Due to this, thoracic volume will get increased. Okay, and contraction of external and intercostal muscles will lift the ribs as well. You have to do this practically, only then you will get it. I am just doing inhalation like this. Diaphragm is getting upwards. Similarly, these ribs are getting upwards. External and intercostal muscles helps these ribs to get upwards, to lift the ribs, and sternum as well, to lift the ribs and sternum as well, in order to increase the volume of thoracic chamber. Okay, overall increase in volume of overall, what happens? Volume increases. First of all, volume will increase due to this diaphragm, then through ribs, then through sternum. Okay, this thoracic volume is increasing, thus it will increase pulmonary volume also. If pulmonary volume will increase, pressure will decrease, because pressure is inversely proportional to volume. If volume will increase, pressure will decrease, which will eventually lead to inhalation. See, physics is involved in inhalation, right? It will help in inhalation. That means atmospheric pressure is being forced from outside to move into the lungs. That is inspiration. Atmospheric pressure is being, forced from outside to move into the lungs. That is known as inspiration. I hope this concept is clear. This concept of breathing is clear. I'm again saying, in order to do inhalation, what happens? First of all, we just contract. Our diaphragm has been, slightly up, become slightly upwards. Then internal and external intercostal muscles between the ribs lift the ribs. Similarly, you know, sternum is also raised, it's also contracted, which eventually increases the thoracic volume. Since pressure and volume are inversely proportional, since volume increases, pressure decreases. Since pressure decreases, that helps us to bring the atmospheric air to get into the what we call it as lungs, to get into our lungs, to move into our lungs. That is known as inspiration. Inspiration, okay, during which oxygen is inhalation, during which oxygen is being drawn in into lungs. Okay, how is it being drawn in? Because of atmospheric pressure. Okay, I hope this concept about all this is clear, right? How mechanism of breathing occurs, how is this, what is this constituting part, what is exchanging part. Okay, I hope all this is clear, all this is clear, how we just respire, how we just do breathing. And I have already mentioned why breathing is necessary, because oxygen, what oxygen do, it just break down the simple molecules like glucose, amino acid, fatty acids into simplest form, so that we will derive energy. During that catabolic reaction, carbon dioxide is being produced. That's why that needs to be, you know, that needs to be drawn out of the body. Okay, and that's only possible if we do inhalation and exhalation respectively. Okay, I hope this concept about mechanism of breathing and all of this is clear, right? Okay, I'll meet you in any other interesting session. Till then, goodbye, take care, thank you, thank you so much.